that sleepest, arise from the dead.
Read the Bible, you'll find out that God's not too happy with what's going on around us.
Redeem the time, because the days are evil.
The Bible has not changed.
Boldly proclaim the restoration and preservation of Christian values in America.
Satan has brainwashed a whole nation.
As goes the church, so goes the nation.
Nobody's convicted of anything anymore.
And now, here's Last Call with your host, B.J. Edwards.
Running? I get my mic down here
I hope so.
so we can see what's going on. No honor, no peace.
No honor, no peace.
No honor, no peace. And how the daddy state is destroying America today. Stay tuned. We're going to examine the induced paranoia that is destroying liberty in America and authority in the homes. Joseph Goebbels would be so proud. So proud. Every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. to noon, 2 hours of Christian talk radio with a sting. Join Mr. Anderson and myself for a special edition.
Good morning.
And we're going to stretch your minds. Did you notice anything different about Mr. Anderson this morning? Well, actually, between both of us. You got a haircut, and I didn't. I didn't.
First haircut in 30 years.
Yeah, looks good. Looks good. We need to get a suit and tie for you.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
No. That's scary. I can't figure out who I am now.
Yeah. We're going to be administering a good dose of common sense. We're going to inoculate you. Going to give you a vaccination. Hey, if you want to call in and talk to myself or Mr. Anderson, 302-202-1110, 302-202.
I could show that, maybe.
1110. Then put in conference caller code 745353. There you go. I don't think that shows. Every Saturday morning, tell your friends about us. Hey, subscribe to our YouTube channel, BJ Edwards. Nah, better yet, don't, because it's just gonna cause you all kinds of frustration.
What is that popped up there?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. That's what I was asking about. That didn't show it on screen, is it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, the listeners don't know what we're
Yep.
talking about.
Yep.
It went away.
Look, we've gone from fear to paranoia, and I'm going to explain the difference between the two, and there's a huge difference between the two.
Absolutely.
But it's separating our families, our friends, our neighbors. And we're going to tell you how the government is brainwashing and dividing we the people. This morning, I generally have to take a walk for health reasons, but I've got a back that's a little cranky, so the walk kind of loosens it up. It's self chiropractic, and it's a beautiful morning. Oh my goodness, gorgeous. And I'm about ready to finish up my walk, and my neighbor comes out and starts to go down their driveway, and the newspaper's there. Now, being the gentleman that I am, I think to pick that newspaper up and give it to her. But it's a different America today, isn't it? Yes, first impression was to pick that up. Second thing I went, oh, wait a minute. Danger, danger, warning, warning. She doesn't have a mask on. I don't have a mask on. And I'm actually going to touch that without gloves. I'm going to touch that paper, get my germs on it, and hand it to her. Now, my question is, will she be insulted? Will she be scared? Or would she be thankful? Folks, if just this one example alone, if you don't see what's happening to Americans, then you deserve Joe Biden and the group of thieves that are going to come into, communist thieves, that are going to come into America and finish the job that Fauci and COVID have started. But we are better than this. I know we're better than this. What did I do? I picked the paper up and gave it to her. And she thanked me. I remember when I was in high school, and I mentioned this before, that I couldn't imagine how stupid Russian people were. How could they let that government, how could they let themselves be so brainwashed by that government that they would think that it is a better world because of having communists in control of you, dictating to you what your daily, you don't decide what to do, they're going to decide for you.
Pick your job, pick your clothes.
How stupid can they be? I mean, I didn't understand how any nation could be that stupid. And now, in the 30s, in Germany, the same thing. This is crazy. Yeah, sheep. You're right, sir. Sheep it is. What I'm seeing, we're talking about Spokane in terms of riots and Minneapolis and wherever. But there are mobs inside of retail lobbies, and there are guards there. Try walking into a retail store without a mask on and see what happens to you. And if you get through the guards, the mob will come after you. Hey, where's your mask? An 80-year-old lady asked me that the other day in my favorite store. Now, having due respect and being the gentleman that I claim to be, I didn't tear any portion of her backside off. But boy, I thought about it. I did think about it. How insulting. That's harassment. That's discrimination. And it is systemic. It is systemic. Look what we're doing to ourselves. I went to the barber shop to get a haircut this week, yesterday. And I walked in the door, and they basically they had the sign, mask, etc. And I said, look, I don't wear a mask. And they said, you've got to wear one. I says, no, I don't. And they said, well, go stand outside. So I stood outside for about 15 minutes. I actually found a bench, and I sat on it. And I'm looking around at the people. I'm looking at cars go by, windows up, and masks on. The people that come over to sit beside me kept their distance. You know, you can really save on deodorant these days, by the way, because you're not close to anybody, right? Think about the money you're saving there.
If you can smell them, you're not social distancing.
That's right. That's right. Just look at what we're doing. Again, go back to this morning's walk and the newspaper. This is crazy. What we're doing to each other, how we're separating each other. Message sent, message received, folks. And we are bad about treating others. The power of the mask. By the way, who is B.J. Edwards? I'm a cartoon character. I play a role of a radical Christian, conservative activist who doesn't fit into the real world. Because if I tried to, I'd be just like Christ, persecuted. I live in Ohio, and we have a governor, Mike DeWine. And there's other governors, a Republican governor, Mike DeWine. And there's other governors just like him across the United States, across the fruited plains. Every time he speaks, I can remember 3-4 months ago when all this first started, that every now and then you'd find folks that are wearing a mask. And then 50% of the folks were wearing a mask every time Mike DeWine spoke, every time Fauci spoke. The rhetoric picked up, the fears picked up, the paranoia took place, and boom. Now in the city that I live in and where I do my shopping, where I couldn't get a haircut, 99.9% of those people are wearing masks. And if you're not wearing a mask, they do keep the distance. I've had people almost break their neck to avoid any close contact with me whatsoever. This is insane. Would you have picked the paper up this morning?
Yep, I would.
We have no real facts. I mean, but there's real facts. Look, COVID is real. The numbers, I don't believe are. And we can't even determine what COVID is, for heaven's sakes. We keep redefining that. How many lives could have been saved over the past 5 months if family members would have been allowed to advocate for their loved ones in the hospital?
Oh, that's a good question.
I talked to a good friend the other day whose mother, elderly mother, he can't see, can't talk to her because the scare is still on. Folks, this is sinful. I mean, this really is sinful. And you're judging other people is sinful. You choose to wear a mask, then by all means wear a mask. I don't care. But don't criticize me. You know initially where this is going to lead. And we're going to have a guest on around the 10:30 hour who's going to talk about something that I talked about maybe a month or two ago. And that's trying to do something to keep us from having to have the upcoming vaccination, which will not have been tested. Well, we're going to be test rats for the vaccination is what we're going to be. How many lives could have been saved over the past 5 months if family members could have advocated for their loved ones? Have you ever seen stats on a patient who had been accidentally killed by a medical professional, a doctor? It does happen, accidentally. How bad does it have to get? I mean, really, how bad does it have to get? You don't want the pain that's going to come because you trusted the government. You gave the government more power over your life, more control over your family's life, and your health, and your businesses. You're not going to like it. It never works out. And it is called communism. And this COVID vehicle has been an incredible ride for politicians. Power. I don't know what to tell you. Well, I do know what to tell you. That's
I was going to say, what? What are you doing on the radio if you don't know what to say?
That's why I'm talking to you this morning.
I got an idea.
Yeah.
I got an idea. What is going on out there?
I want to talk to you about the difference between fear and phobia. I can get in a little bit. Well, we've got a couple minutes before break. Let me just define what Webster's dictionary defines as phobia. It's an exaggerated, inexplicable, illogical fear of a particular object, class of objects, or situation. One of the reasons many people don't wear a face mask, other than what I would say intelligence, of course, is that they're extremely claustrophobic. And folks, that's real to them. Unfounded perhaps, but it's real to them. And it's scary to them. It's a panic situation for them. Of course, we've all heard recently of xenophobic, right? And homophobic. That's real to people. Well, I've just entered a new word in the Guinness Book of World Records. And when we come back from break, I'm going to tell you what that is. But keep in mind, an exaggerated, inexplicable, illogical fear of a particular object or class.
We'll go to break. I got this special one that I told you about.
All righty.
You might have to read it. I don't know.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes, sir. the man owner of the woman.
Oops.
That's okay. We're good. We're good. B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. We're talking about paranoia.
Last call with B.J. Edwards. Real talk about real life.
Yes, we will.
Yep. An exaggerated, illogical fear of a particular object or situation.
That's what the mask actually imposed.
Mm-hmm. And the new word for the Guinness Book of phobias is going to be called coronaphobia. And as you might have already guessed, it's an exaggerated and illogical fear of an invisible and strangely evolving pathogen that allegedly has no cure, cannot be stopped, destroys everything within 6 feet of its presence, travels by land, sea, and air, and promoted by religious guru Dr. Anthony Fauci. I might also add that, like racism, it is supposedly under every bed, in every closet, around every corner, behind every tree, in the highways, the byways, throughout the fruited plains. But BJ, fear can be healthy, right? Yeah, it can. But we're not talking about fear here, folks. We've rapidly moved well beyond that point. You see, fear is an emotional experience experienced by living beings that occurs in response to a known risk to life, health, or security, a threat. Now, like a phobia, it does induce various reactions in human beings, such as running away, freezing, holding, etc. But the difference between the two is that fear is a natural emotion driven by the process of learning and cognition, and not imagination. Fear is more rational and appropriate as versus irrational and inappropriate, aka paranoia. Phobia, on the other hand, can be categorized as a type of anxiety disorder, paranoia, where the sufferer shows a persistent and irrational fear of an object or a situation, going to great lengths to avoid it. Typically disappropriate to the actual danger posed by it. If the situation cannot be avoided entirely, it has been noted that he or she will endure the situation with great distress that significantly interferes with occupational or social activities. Boy, there you go. Significantly interferes with occupational or social activities. Phobias include discomfort in crowded areas or persistent fear of public speaking, whereas specific phobias include arachnophobia, fear of spiders, acrophobia, fear of heights, and coronaphobia. What's the difference between a phobia and a fear? Fear and phobia are two interrelated words that often go hand in hand. However, the difference between these two words prevent them from being used as synonyms for one another. Fear is a normal human emotion triggered by threatening conditions. A phobia is an anxiety order. A phobia is an irrational fear, where the reaction to the sufferer in avoiding the said cause is grossly disappropriate to the actual threat posed by the object or the situation. Fear is a rationalized and justified emotion that comes in response to a threatening situation. The reaction caused by fear can be managed. The reactions triggered by phobias are usually extreme and cannot be controlled. Special thanks to Jay from thedifferencebetween.com for some of that information. Speaking of fear, what's the difference between a teddy bear, you know, that furry placebo that you used to carry around with you, Mr. Anderson, when you were a kid to protect yourself?
Yeah, I had one.
Yeah, what's the difference between that furry bodyguard and today's modern face mask?
Well, I could throw the teddy bear off to the side if it got in my way. I don't know.
You can't prove that either works. That's one thing that they have in common. Then you can't prove that either do. Right?
It just made me feel better.
As does the mask.
I was missing my mom.
Yep. You need to respect other folks. Let's use cornophobia in a sentence. In less than 6 months, America has turned fear into a phobia that is literally destroying its economy, our personal liberties, our families and lives, as we quickly become a nation of coronaphobic mask-wearing zombies that faint every time a neighbor sneezes, coughs, or flagellates. Again, sitting on that park bench the other day, or on the bench in front of the retail store.
Sitting on a park bench.
It's just insane what I'm looking at. I mean, this is going beyond fear. It is a phobia, and that's dangerous, because there's people in power that are using this
Absolutely.
to dictate our behaviors.
See how easy it is?
I am tired. I am really tired of the angst that I have when I go to a store. I am tired of it. I don't know whether I'm going to be served or I can get my hair cut. I found out yesterday. I don't know that. I don't know how aggressive they're going to be. Again, I was in the store the other day.
Isn't that a scary crowd there?
Yeah. And some octogenarian accosted me. You need a mask on. Same store, a week earlier, I was accosted by the supervisor, the manager of the store. Read me the riot act. This is a company policy. We don't need that, okay? As Americans, we don't need that. We're already divided enough. And this mask is a divider. Whew, is it ever? The coronavirus is a divider. They are manipulating us. It's the fox guarding the hen house. We don't have the figures. We really don't know. COVID-related deaths? What in God's name does that mean? COVID-related deaths. I had a friend the other day whose aunt passed away. And wow. Hey, we got a caller on the other line. Matt?
Hey, just a comical little story that goes along with your mask issue.
Yes, sir.
I was in a local store here. I won't tell you which one. It was Kroger's.
Yeah, how do you spell that? Kroger? Go ahead.
Let's go Kroger.
Anyway,
Kroger.
I was in there, my wife and I was doing some shopping, and most of the store shelves didn't have anything marked on, no pricing or anything like that. And that'd be kind of irritating. So we got one of the people, and then another one of the workers come along, and there's two workers there, and I said, well, what is the price on this stuff? And they kind of pointed down the way a little bit, and they said, well, right down there's a scanner if you want to go check it. I said, right down there's a scanner so I can go check it.
What?
And the guy said, well, yeah. And I said, it's just a really good thing that I got this mask on for your sake, because you would see one heck of a scowl on my face and one heck of a bad look coming right back at you for a stupid comment like that.
Why did they do
So
that?
masks are good for something.
I don't know what did they do? Why do they do that? No pricing. I don't get that.
I don't know either. But half the items that we looked at and tried to pick up and buy, no price on the shelf, no price on the product, no price on anything. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, especially in a grocery store.
Make a comment to them. I thought, as they do in a number of stores, they would take the item and go check it out and come back and say, well, sir, it's such an amount or whatever. This guy made absolutely no effort, just pointed to one of the scanners and said, well, there's a scanner. He was doing nothing. he was doing absolutely nothing. Had his little, Kroger apron on or whatever. And I don't understand it. But here's the point. I think what you guys are pointing out this morning is really important. What's going to happen if it's 6 months or a year or whatever now when we take these masks off? I mean, it's going to be incredible. People are going to see looks like they've never seen before, and it could cause a lot more anger and frustration and everything else in this country than we've ever expected to see. So I don't know, just kind of an interesting mask story.
Yeah, the masks are symbols. They are symbols.
Yep.
Definitely.
So you guys have a great day. Good show.
All right, Matt. Thank you very much, brother. Appreciate the call.
You betcha. Yep. Bye.
These are trying times, aren't they, Mr. Anderson?
They are, but I like it when the phone works.
Yes. When you can work the phone?
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Matt mentioned when we take the masks off. Yeah. I'm not too sure whether that is even going to get worse. I mean, I keep talking about the astronaut suit. At the rate we're going, it's going to be close to us living in plastic bubbles, even with the vaccinations.
Oh my gosh. I just Facebook this morning, somebody posted, this is in Maine, restaurant servers now have to wear a shield upside down so that their breath doesn't go down, it goes up. So they're wearing dog cones.
Oh, God.
And this is real.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, so you got servers with dog cones on. How humiliating can you get?
That's amazing. That is amazing. Hey, the next step, which we all know, are mandatory vaccines. Well, next step can be mandatory vaccines. Do you have that clip with the mask, Mr. Anderson?
The clip with the mask.
Coach's show?
You do.
Okay.
I have to set this. Oh, my gosh.
So the next step is going to be the vaccination, the forced vaccination. I'm guessing it's not going to be voluntary. Well, it'll be voluntary if you don't want health care and you don't want to eat. Yeah, it'll be voluntary. It'll be voluntary if you want to see people scowl at you because you don't have your green button that says, hey, I've been vaccinated.
Is that share screen?
Yep.
Okay.
Share audio. Do you need that? Guess not. All right, let's go for it. When we come back, we're going to show this, and we come back from break. We're going to have Larry Richardson on, who might help us out here.
Us the effectiveness of masks.
Let's cut to the chase and take a look at an ordinary surgical mask, and I'm using a vape. As you can see, that vape, which has aerosols the same size as COVID-19 or larger, goes through and around a surgical mask. Now, if we take a cup mask and have a good look at it, here we go. Notice it goes right through the mask easily and goes in every direction. The aerosol is not affected by the mask in any material. Now we look at a surgical mask with a foam strip to protect above and keep my glasses from fogging.
Are we sharing
this
screen?
Lo and behold, the aerosols go all around it. Has no effect on me spreading aerosols to you. Now a cloth mask I borrowed from my wife. Once again, here we go. Boom, straight through and around. It has no effect on the spread of aerosols. They go everywhere.
No, we're not.
And then I went and bought a guard mask with a high efficiency filter material. That one, here we go. Watch for it. Through and around. It had no effect on the vape aerosol, which, remember, is the same size or larger. Now, I don't have an N95 mask. I have these shop respirators where they can put all kinds of things in them, but they're like an N95 because when you breathe out, everything goes out through a valve. Guess what? It might protect me from you. It sure isn't going to protect you from me.
I don't know.
Let's look at that again. Boom. Any mask with a button
blew
on
it.
it has a valve that lets everything go from you to your neighbor. It has no effect on anything. I think you can get the picture now. There is absolutely
Now they got the picture.
nothing that any of these
Sorry
masks
about that.
The doctor is
do
basically showing
protect
masks and how they
you
don't
from
work
me.
and how they leak.
And the fact is,
It's just
that
incredible how ineffective the masks
unless
are.
I have a mask which is fully sealed and where I breathe through the filter material both directions, and I have a really high quality filter, nothing is going to protect in either direction. Because just the same way that the vape went out, around, and through, it will come in, around, and through. Aerosols will not be stopped by man.
And again, our attempt is to show you
Who does
visually.
vaping to
I
show
want to thank
us
Coach
the
Dave Dodmark. You can go ahead and kill that. Well, thanks, Coach
Let's
Dave
cut
Dodmark.
to the chase and take a
Well, let
look
'em see
at
that
an
a little
ordinary
bit.
surgical mask, and I'm using a vape. As you can see, that vape, which has aerosols the same size as COVID-19 or larger, goes through and around a surgical mask. Now, if we take a cup mask and have a good look at it, here we go. Notice it goes right through the mask easily and goes in every direction. The aerosol is not affected by the mask in any material. Now we look at a surgical mask with a foam strip to protect above and keep my glasses from fogging. Lo and behold,
I don't
the
know how to
aerosols go
stop it.
all around it. Has no effect on me spreading aerosols to you. Now a cloth mask I borrowed from my wife. Once again, here we go. Boom, straight through and around. It has no effect on the spread of aerosols.
Not
They
working?
go everywhere. And then I went and bought a guard mask with a
There you go. There you go. Anyway, we more than explained and showed how the mask really looks like they don't work. I wouldn't have a lot of confidence in them. I wouldn't have a confidence in them. Hey, B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson, this is your last call. When we come back, we're going to have a special guest, Larry Richardson, and we're going to talk about vaccinations. Stay tuned. Okay.
Last call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
Yeah, I'm going to bring on Larry. Hang in there just a second. This is an item that I caught yesterday, which I thought was very interesting. We were speaking about masks. Ventriloquist Reggie Glowman and his sidekick dummy Dingo have been struggling to book performances for the past 20 years. Glowman would have described himself as an average ventriloquist, but recently his talents have skyrocketed. As venues begin to reopen but require masks, the 46-year-old performer discovered that he can sing and say any letter or word where he wants without the audience seeing his lips move. Yeah. I can make Dingo say, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, as clearly as I want, and no one sees a thing, said Glowman. Dingo's vocabulary has exploded. Crowds have been wowed by the new and improved Reggie and Dingo show. I've been seeing ventriloquists act for over 50 years, said audience member Tom Lapp. I watched the mouth closely, and I didn't see Reggie's lips move a single time during the entire show. Impressive. It's too small of a word. The reviews are growing, and buzz around the performance have gathered. The comedy pair is a nationwide tour now. It's absolutely amazing, Glowman said. This virus is the best thing that happened to my career. I'm one of the few people hoping... I'm one of the few people hoping for a second outbreak. Glowman has considered giving Dingo a mask too, which would make things even easier. So there you go. There's the advantage of the mask. Hey, bring Larry on if you would. Did we lose him?
No.
Okay. You're about ready to hit remove. Don't do that. Go down one.
Huh?
You have the pointer on remove?
I'm not using this one,
Okay.
but he's there.
He's not on. Oh, okay, Larry. Can you hear? We can barely hear you, Larry.
Let's see. I've got my microphone plugged in and everything, and the little thing when I tested in the room said it was working.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have volume control for his end.
Let me
Okay.
turn my volume up and see if that helps. Did that help?
Well, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay.
There's a mic thing up there, Kevin, Mr. Anderson. You see it? On the
Mic.
top right? Right there. If I hit that,
That'll mute him, I think.
that would. How about the side over here? Go ahead, Larry. Go ahead. Hey, Larry is with an organization. I want you to tell us a little bit about FOLU, but also what they're getting involved with. And Natural Family Foundation is going to come alongside and help out with this exercise. This is a great event and something that we can all get involved with, and something that's directly going to affect each and every one of us. That being said, Larry, what is it you're trying to do? And tell me a little bit about FOLU.
Well, before I do that, can I just pass on one thing about masks?
Sure.
I got some new glasses, and we had to wear masks to go in and get our exam and all that and everything. I'm sitting at the table after I picked out my frames. The lady is fixing all the paperwork out and getting ready to pay for them. And I said, hey, I just realized I'm sitting here just right across the table from you, and you don't even know if I have my teeth in because I'm wearing a mask.
There is a God. There is a God. Thank you, Larry. I appreciate that.
Okay. Those of you that have heard me before and know me know that I'm founded the Sound the Alarm Brigade to try to keep Sharia law from taking over our country. And I have not abandoned that group or that cause. I have simply folded it into the umbrella of a group called, I'm getting an echo here. Are you getting the echo?
Let me do this. Go ahead, Larry.
Okay. Yeah, no echo now. Yeah, I folded Sound the Alarm Brigade into a group called Friends of Liberty United, FOLU. And we are simply one of the arms, one of the platforms, one of the things within FOLU that is working to make our country better and to restore our constitutional foundations. What FOLU is basically it's a well thought out, well written, actual plan to attack what is wrong with our country, how to get back to its foundations and roots, one little step at a time from the local level. It's a plan to develop local teams all across the country. Now, the vision and the goal of the founder of the guy that wrote the plan back in the 1990s is to have an action team in every zip code across the country. A few people grouped together in unity in that zip code, taking action, whether it be go to their county council and present this measure or that measure, or support something or be against something. But just a group of people in every zip code trying to effect things in their own community and higher levels. And one thing that we are really pressing right now, probably the front and center of our offensive plan right now, is getting these teams established and then go to their city councils, county commissioners, whatever they call it, wherever you're at. But getting in front of them and asking them to, or presenting them with a resolution from the people, kind of like a petition, only it's a little stronger than a petition, but with a resolution that asks them to pass a law that makes their city, county, or whatever it is, even state level, a sanctuary county or a city or a state that will not allow any laws forcing people to be vaccinated. In other words, there'll be a sanctuary from forced vaccination, city or county or state. You want me to read the resolution? Can't hear you a bit.
I have to mute myself so you don't get the reverberation. Okay. Yes, I definitely want to see it, but also I want to hear it, but I also want to see it. And if you could give the website before you read that, because I assume that's on the website somewhere.
Yes. Yes. Okay. The website is friendsoflibertyunited.com. Do not forget the word united. You will end up in a weird place. friendsoflibertyunited.com. And when you get there, there's one of those menu items across the top that says documents. If you just hold your little icon or your little cursor over documents, you'll see something that says resolutions. Click on resolutions, and I think this is the first resolution presented. There's a button, you click on it, and it'll take you straight to this resolution. Here's how it reads. Whereas the Declaration of Independence declares that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and whereas there are elected officials within government who are openly promoting the violation of these rights by introducing the COVID-19 testing, reaching, and contacting everyone trace acts, H.R. 6666 and Senate 3624. And whereas Alan Dershowitz, an attorney for President Trump, stated, quote, "You have no constitutional right to endanger the public and spread the disease, even if you disagree. You have no right not to be vaccinated. We have to be vaccinated." End quote. And whereas many citizens vehemently oppose such vaccinations, having their unalienable rights violated, therefore, be it resolved, the Friends of Liberty United's position is that city councils, county boards of supervisors or commissioners, and or state legislatures should exercise their power of interposition and nullification and pass legislation declaring their jurisdictions to be sanctuary cities, counties, and states in which their citizens cannot be compelled to be vaccinated, but are free to receive them should they so desire. Very simple. It's not an easy process to get this passed at the local level, but it's a simple thing. And sometimes you have to be willing to work hard to get the simple things done so that we can move in the right direction.
Amen, Larry. And I want to comment here, and I know you can talk about this, about unity. John MacArthur, and this is related, John MacArthur is holding church services without mask and not social distancing. And he's catching all kind of grief for that. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. For over the past several years, I've really had problems with John MacArthur, and it seemed like he was working against what I was doing, and he wasn't on my fan list, okay? However, I support what he's doing 100%. And in this case, I see an opportunity here for us to unite in cause with regards to the mask and the social distancing and religious freedom. I mean, it's all all encapsulated. I really love what he's doing. I've called them 3 times now and told them how much I'm supporting them to keep up the good work, to encourage them. I'm encouraging other people to do that. That to me is part of the unity. And when you're talking about, well, I guess what I'm saying, Larry, is common goals are what you can have. You can have the plans, and that's great, but you got to find people. You got to find a common goal that people will join with you. Once they join with you, they'll get to know you better. They'll have a higher comfort level with you because they're just a stranger. You're just a stranger. FOLU's just a stranger. Natural Family Foundation is a stranger to folks. That you have to have some kind of an association. And I think this is an incredible opportunity, not only number one, to do the right thing, but to get people united and also to get people to know organizations better like FOLU, which they need to get to know, and the plan is good. But I think this is just a wonderful opportunity to do that. And you don't have to, you can say, well, might be saying, well, I'm working on, my name is B.J. Edwards. I'm working on behalf of the Natural Family Foundation in coordination with FOLU on their project, or however I wanted to state that, or however you want to state that. Tie the two together. It's critically important. You can go ahead.
Absolutely. It is not difficult to find people that have common goals. The problem is finding people who have common goals that are willing to work with others because the bottom line, when you read all the 5 things about what it's really great to know to join FOLU and everything, the bottom line is we want to work in combination, in cooperation with anyone who shares our common goals in the areas we're working in. And we want to ensure that everybody has the opportunity and the freedom to pursue their own special goals. And where we can fold our goals over into their special goals, we can help them in their common goals. But if we don't start helping each other, I think one of the founders said, if we don't hang together, we're going to hang separately.
Yeah, I don't know whether that was Franklin or Jefferson, but it's great. It's wise information, and it's one of the things that I'm going to make friends here. But the prepper group, and I believe that's probably something you should be doing, and you should prepare yourself with weapons, etc. But you want to make sure that you don't isolate yourself, and that's what we do real well as a community. As a Christian community, as a conservative community, we really do a great job of isolating ourselves. And if you're in a battle with somebody or with another nation, as a military leader, the first thing you want to do is isolate the enemy. If you can isolate a portion of them, if you can surround them, then they're toast. They're done. So you can have all the guns you think you need and all the food that you think you need, but if the enemy is united and they want that stuff, good luck. Personal opinion, if you're going to do it, and there's groups out there that are doing it now, work in your neighborhoods, or work in your blocks, or work locally, and find other people with mutual interest that understand the terrible state we're in terms of government overreach. And the suppressing of our liberties, people that respect that, and maybe they have guns, you don't have guns, but as long as you're working together, like when the vaccination comes around, and you've got these groups formed with the help of FOLU, you've got these groups formed, there's going to be other things that you're going to be interested in, and are going to find that those folks are going to help you out with.
Well, Larry, if you can see the screen, there's a message from a listener that I wanted to post so you could see it.
Okay, I can. Okay. One voice now, same principle. Oh, Donald Davidson. I know the name.
He just was asking a question or making a comment there for you.
Yeah, One Voice Now Coalition. Man, we need to get with those One Voice Now Coalition and roll our efforts together. I mean, it's just a question of we come together or we die.
Yes, yep. United is key.
What's the name of that organization again, Larry? And the address we can reach you at?
It was one something. I didn't have a chance to write it down.
No. friendsoflibertyunited.com. Is that it?
Yeah, there you go.
friendsoflibertyunited.com. I've been working closely with them. Highly recommend them. A lot of good people working with them. As a matter of fact, the situation that I have here locally, and I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail, Friends of Liberty United has connected me up with a national legal group that is likely going to be able to help me out in my cause. I wouldn't know about that had it not been for my association with FOLU. Just keep that in mind. There are resources out there that you don't know you have access to until you start reaching out. I very much believe in the Natural Family Foundation. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I think I'm directly over the target. I know that if we don't fix the family, nothing else out here is going to work, because the family is the foundation of all civilization. It's where children learn authority. It's where children learn morals with the help of the church. But that's where it has to start. But I can't isolate myself in that group. And I'm on the phone continually. I'm on conference calls, Zoom calls with all kinds of organizations. They've helped me, and hopefully I've helped them. But my goal is to put this all together to get united. I really believe, Larry, in what you're doing, because we know that the vaccination is coming. And let's just, well, wait a minute. We can't fight City Hall, and this isn't going to work out, and there's no sense getting started. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to run into like-minded people. Hello? You're going to run in other words, you're not going to be isolated. You're going to run into like-minded people. You may not be 100% successful. This may not even be what God wants you to do or wants you to accomplish. It's what he wants you to do, but not what necessarily you think you're going to have to accomplish. I've seen it over and over again. I'll have an intention to do something, and this is the result that I need to have out of it. And then maybe 2 months or even 2 years or 20 years later, you go, oh, I didn't realize that is what that accomplished. So if you see a need, that's your calling. And if you see other people that are working on that, for heaven's sakes, do so. I think the vaccination is a huge issue that can unite us, which we need to be done, and unite us in righteousness, unite us in liberty, unite us in freedom. We need to quit giving that stuff away. Larry, any last comments, please?
Hey, there he is.
Yeah, this is my first time on this format of coming into your show. I just now saw the button I could pick to turn the camera on. That's how swift I am.
Well, it's good to see you.
It's simple. It's simple. My Sound the Alarm Brigade, BJ's Natural Family Foundation. All of these things are each individually poison pills that will kill our society. But in order to restore our society, restore our government to its constitutional foundations, it's going to take a massive execution of a detailed plan, starting at the local level and working up. You're not going to fix Congress in Washington, D.C. unless you have first fixed the local level up part of politics, because I guarantee you any good person who gets into politics and works up the system without the bottom levels being fixed is going to be just as crooked as the rest of them when they get to Washington, D.C. I promise you.
Amen, brother. Amen. Again, that's, hang on a second, friendsoflibertyunited.com. Be sure to put the United on there, friendsoflibertyunited.com. And maybe you can follow up with Donald and look up One Voice Now and let them know what you're doing, and hopefully they'll work with you.
Yeah. We need to get everybody working side by side.
Great. Larry, thanks for your time this morning. God bless you. Godspeed.
Speed is what we need.
And blessings.
No pun intended.
I get it. Thanks, Larry.
You got a mute button right there.
That's Larry or me? That's okay. I'm back with you.
Yeah. Here, look, the trifecta.
Yeah. If somebody comes into your establishment claiming a mask exemption, most likely for medical or religious reasons, engage the customer in a discussion to determine whether an alternative to a traditional face mask would suffice. These are instructions that are giving to employees now. It's changed. Because of your dang complaining, it's changed. Because that woman that said, "You better put a mask on," went to management. Hey, oh, there's a guy out there and he doesn't have a mask on. Oh, good Lord, we're all going to die. I'm scared. Take care of me. Take care of the majority of the people that are in here. This is just one individual. He's threatening everybody else. Again, COVID's real. The numbers aren't. They don't know. that you just saw the effectiveness of a mask. You just saw that, or the ineffectiveness of a mask. They don't work, folks. And if the truth be known about the numbers, there'd be a lot of embarrassed people. But we're never going to hear that. We're never going to hear that. It's just going to get worse. This isn't about BJ and my ability not to wear a mask. That is not what this is about. This is about your liberties and how you value them. What respect you give to the founders who died for those liberties so you could walk around like a fool wearing a mask. Sheep. Bah. It breaks my heart to see what's happening out there. It really does. And how gullible we are. That's incredible. So if someone enters your establishment claiming a mask exemption, most likely for medical or religious reasons, engage the customer in a discussion to determine whether an alternative to a traditional face mask would suffice.
What is a traditional face mask?
That's a good question. Do not ask about their medical restriction or what type of religion they practice. If no option works, then you can invite them to return to your business when the mask requirement is lifted. Hold your breath. Just hold your breath until the requirements are done, okay? Just hold your breath. Don't see your loved ones. Shut your business down. That's right. I have a serious question for the mask people. Do you plan on wearing the mask forever or just until you're told you can remove it? The latter. In addition, they're instructed, there is no constitutional right exemption for wearing a mask. Really? If someone claims that masks violate their constitutional rights, you should kindly reinforce the mask requirement. If they refuse, you can invite them to return to the business when the mask requirement is lifted. Be sure to discuss your business's additional processes with upper management. They're being trained to suppress your liberties, your freedoms. They work for a living. They have to make money. They have children. Now what? Where do we go from here? There are already plans for you, and it's not to give you more liberties and not to give you more freedom. Are you aware of that? You better be. And don't be chastising the BJs of the world. We see the storm clouds. We see the loss of liberty. And because you don't understand it, you fear it. And because you trust government, really, you trust government. Everybody complains about governmental leaders, public servants. Everybody complains about them, unless it's your own, and then you trust that one. These guys are good. Their job is to get elected and to stay elected. And they do that, especially the Democratic Party, through hate and envy. And now, and they're going to use the mask. They already said the mask is going to be the key. It's symbolic. And if you were to look at the town that I live in, I'd say the Dems are in for sure.
Looks like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Bah. Okay. Just remember what's going on here. And remember, BJ told you so. Larry told you so. Coach told you so.
Mr. Anderson said something once in a while.
Yep. Feed the positives and starve the negatives.
And there's very little discussion of the side effects of wearing a mask. And I'm hearing more and more reports of upper respiratory problems increasing in people. And they're treating that and might be calling that COVID.
That's amazing. And yes, they would. That's very good. That's a twofer for them. They get to suppress our rights and then say, oh, yeah, well, it's getting worse. It's getting worse. I think we're ready for a break, Mr. Anderson.
We're ready for a break?
Yep.
Oh, you are right.
Yep.
It's that top of the hour break we need.
When we come back, we killed God, family, and community, and now it's killing us. B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson, your last call, and
keeping you informed. This is Last Call with B.J. Edwards.
this is Family Hour. Second hour is usually Family Hour. That video with the show, Coach's Show.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll get that up and ready. Probably. Well, I want to read some of this first. I'd mentioned to Larry the importance of the family, the critical importance of the family. And I ran across an article this week entitled, "We Killed God, Family, and Community, and Now It's Killing Us." Last week we talked about natural family law. Boy, would I ever like to get that gone. Which would mirror a Ronald Reagan executive order with the help of an article that appeared in the Federalist last year. I want to reemphasize the need for such a law. By the way, and for the record, laws are there to protect the innocent and restrain power. But you know what else laws are?
What are they?
Laws are teachers. Mm-hmm. You see a law, it must be
Four
right.
commandments.
Go ahead.
You see a law, it must be right? It's okay to kill babies. That's the law, right? So what are we teaching? Well, okay. I know it's not a law. It's a Supreme Court decision, an interpretation of the law, but it's how we're operating. And if you operate a certain way for a certain period of time, then it does become a law. It does become a law. It's accepted by the community. In August of last year, Thad Belamos wrote that once upon a time in America, you and I had meaning. And we knew it because we had a mom and a dad who told you so, a God who loved you, and a community that respected and needed you. Boy, how has the mask affected that? Once upon a time in America, if something happened to you, a significant number of people would mourn your death because you were a good person and a good friend, and because the community would suffer without your presence and skills. Now the vast majority of people can barely count on one hand the number of people whose life could be truly altered by their passing. The government is your daddy. For the most part, anytime there's a problem in America and you flip on to TV, what's the first thing that they say? Generally, it's, well, the government needs to get more involved. Right? Isn't that the answer to all the questions? We need more government. When in actuality, the government's caused the problem to begin with. For the most part, it can easily feel like no one cares about anyone anymore, especially you. Your skills are insignificant. You have no true community, and God doesn't exist. Satan is so good. Oh, he is so good. We've created a society that offers little, if any, of the things that make people truly happy. Public schools teach our children that life has no meaning. Morals are relative. Multiculturalism, diversity. Man, not God, is the measure of all things. And we're back to that favorite theme of BJ, the state is your daddy. And thanks in large part to these schools and the failing of the church and the family, community, etc., has no feeling of belonging. The foundation and primal building blocks of human happiness are rapidly disappearing. With the destruction of the family, the church, and the community, and it starts with the family, folks. It starts with the family. The reasons people have traditionally had for their very existence are in danger of receding into the past. And the outcome, well, pretty predictable. Isolation, depression, anxiety, despondency, drug abuse, all leading to some sort of death, physical or emotional. Key family, key foundation. Living in denial, we talk about gun violence, failing to note root causes. And that is not the availability of weapons, which have been in this country for decades, and for some time in the school parking lots, right? In trucks. See them hanging up there?
Yep.
So that's because you're an old... so what has changed? First of all, politicians and pundits ask all the wrong questions. Do we have too many guns? We always have. Too many video games and movies are too violent? They've always been that. Do we need more laws? We have more than we can keep track of. When we talk about the discarding of institutions, the fundamental thing that has changed is that we have discarded the regulating social institutions that have helped people understand their value and place in the world for thousands of years. Their decline is not just mirrored in the rise of mass shootings, but more broadly in a host of statistics that reveal an epidemic of despair. Please listen to these stats. Between 2000 and 2017, the rate of deaths due to drug overdose increased 400%. 17 years. 400%. Suicide rate has increased from 10.4 per 100,000 in 2000 to 4 per 100,000 in 2017. 14 per 100,000 in 2017. If you have ever been in a situation where someone close to you died of suicide, that's the gift that keeps on giving, folks. You never stop asking the question, what if? Yet we're doing things now to weaken institutions that would protect against that terrible activity. Terrible. These statistics that I'm quoting mirror the death of the family and decline of faith. Children born out of wedlock increased from 20% in 1985 to more than 40% in 2013, and that's not getting any better. With crime statistics tracking this trend almost exactly. Children born out of wedlock. Wow. Church membership declined from 70% in 1998 to 50% today. Taken together, these stats of despair demonstrate what happens when the people feel they have no place, no purpose, and no value in the world, which leads to an inevitable isolation. And sadly, technology exasperates this phenomenon by allowing and encouraging us to isolate ourselves. The TV is bad enough, but the computer and phones, wow.
Yeah, they're not phones anymore.
I can remember Mrs. BJ was asked by her sorority to come back to school to help with incoming students. And what she was asked to do was to help with their communication skills. You see, they don't know how to talk to other people. They're talking to the phone. Yeah, phone, hello, hello. but they don't talk to other people. They don't know how to do it. I can remember as an executive recruiter when the change started from personal contact via in-person to the computer. And I fought that because I knew what it was doing. There's no person there. They can hide behind that technology. They can call you anytime they want.
Is that why they're okay with masks?
Maybe. That's. I mean that. Let's just say that could be the next, the leading. Oh man, somebody's probably getting an idea out there. How can I match technology with mask? Thanks, Mr. Anderson. You're going to make somebody a millionaire and most everybody else miserable.
Oh, I'm sure. Evil's ahead of me on that.
Technology allows people to live their lives in isolation. Alone, completely alone. They can view endless pornography or isolate themselves into ideological bubbles that reinforce their desperate ideas. The only antidote to this toxic brew is to engage with other people in ways that are beneficial for human flourishing. And again, you have the mask there, separating people. A thin paper wall, but an incredible separation of people. You were going to say something, Mr. Anderson?
I was just going to say how a paper mask seems to be heavier than a ball and chain.
Great point. Yep. More confining. Good point. The only antidote to the toxic brew that we have stirred up here is to engage with other people in ways that are beneficial for human flourishing. The only remedies are the institutions that have satisfied the human condition over millennia: family, community, and faith. And we're losing them, starting with the family. Communist Manifesto, get rid of the family. Huh? Homosexual Manifesto, got to get rid of the family. Look, they don't want to change it.
The schools are doing that now.
How so?
Well, I've seen articles about the school districts having parents sign forms to not watch the virtual training that their children are getting.
Mm-hmm.
And they're there's even accidentally whatever they're spying in the homes. This one teacher reported a child for because she saw a BB gun hanging on the wall behind him.
Yeah.
Did you see that story?
No, but I'm not surprised.
Oh my goodness! It went overboard. They went overboard with that. So yeah.
If you heard a child screaming in the yard, help, 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 and you couldn't find your mask, would you run out to help them? Would you think about the mask first, or would you think to help them first? Maybe we're not to that point yet, but we're going to be awful close to it.
I'd slide down my fireman's pole into my beekeeper suit and run out the door.
Hey, human beings are not designed for isolation.
Not.
We require deep and meaningful connection. We need family and community. God didn't create the family by accident. Oh, I think I'll do this. It might work. He knew what he was doing.
Hebrews 10:25, I think, forsake not the assembling together.
We're desperate for life and the love of others. It's one of those apps that we're born with. We need people and institutions to help us navigate the world. You can't do it alone. To help us see that we have purpose, to help us understand right from wrong, and to imbue us with a sense of morality and clarity that will hold us up during the desperate times we all face. Why would that have allowed will happen? We all know very well what happens when more and more children grow up in single parent homes. Increased suicide, drug use, dropout, teen pregnancy, mental disorders. The list goes on.
Here's the break.
Last Call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
Want to be by any stretch of the imagination. I want to be hiding in a cave. I don't want to expose myself to criticism. When the situation happened to me this week, Friday, I got sick. This just tears me up. And I had a difficult time functioning. I needed to talk to the manager of the place that I went to. But I had to preoccupy myself for about an hour before I could do that, because it upsets me that much. This intensity that I have is my want not to get involved. I don't want to be doing this. And I have to bolster myself up, double, quadruple, 10 times, 100 times, what I would say a normal person would do, just to do the right thing, because it's so against my nature. I'm glad for what I have, and I'm grateful for this portion of what God gave to me.
Well, it's a good thing you do step out, because the one reason we're looking at so many sheep is because it's easier, more comfortable just to go along with the herd or flock or whatever you call these groups of, I don't know.
Gangs. Call them gangs. They're no different. They are no different in terms of their intent. And that's to destroy America. I'm sorry, that's not their intent, but that's what they're going to be doing as the people in Portland. They're going to destroy America, but they're going to do it in a different way. And that's what they're trying to do in Portland, is take our liberties away and our freedoms away. And what they're trying to do with the mask, the people that you're around, your church, your pastors, for crying out loud. Johnny Mack being an exception, and a few others. But for the most part, they're helping to destroy America and the church in the process, and don't even know it, and won't talk to you about it. Maybe some of it's because it's a business and they have a retirement on the line. Don't know, don't care. That's one of the things that Coach Dave Dovenmeyer and Mark Harrington, that's why we formed Minutemen United decades ago. We wanted to make the church great again. That was our goal, because we felt that if the pulpits, and this is true, if the pulpits spoke relevant sermons, we wouldn't be nearly where we are today. There's still going to be sin. There's still going to be problems. But you as an individual would have more control over your life. We know what happens when communities deteriorate. Isolation, loneliness, and decline in social norms. And when we destroy the church, or are complicit in destroying the church, the very institution has been our bedrock of values, morality, and redemption for thousands of years. Despair, immorality, desperation, and evil. Combine all three, and we know exactly what happens. An opioid epidemic so severe that it has literally reduced our average life expectancy. A suicide rate that continues to climb for almost all democratic groups. Mass shootings. Destroy the family, abandon the community, razz the church to the ground. What could go wrong? Everything. I mentioned Coach Dave Dovenmeyer. He has a morning show, 7 o'clock in the morning. I would recommend it for everyone And there is something for everyone there. For the odd couple to the straight lace, it's there. A lot of wisdom. He has an incredible mind. He's a great teacher. Great teacher. And needs to be more exposure in the world out there. And that's what I'm going to give him today. And I'm going to give that for a couple of reasons. Number one, because he deserves it. But number two, he talked about something very, very important the other day on his show. CoachDaveLive.com. Very important. And although this is family hour, we're going to talk about making the church great again as well. Because this is the church as well. This is the Bible. This is what should be taught in our churches tomorrow. This lesson should be taught tomorrow. And then reinforced and reinforced. Give special classes on it. What was Coach talking about? He was talking about the 10 Commandments. But he focused on the first of the 5 commandments that talk about our responsibilities.
To one another.
To one another. And not to God. And you know what number 5 is? The top of the 5? Thou shalt not kill, right? No. No. No.
Don't lie. Don't lie.
Nope. Not that one? Nope. This is the one.
Don't covet.
That we've, yes. No, it's not. This is the one that we've forgotten. And it maybe purposely. And men, you need to listen up here. That commandment is to honor your mother and father. And honor is an important word. And like Coach draws out in his video, which we're going to show, it doesn't mean you have to love them, but you're going to. It's just naturally you're going to do that. I mean, my father was, nobody's totally worthless. They can always be a horrible example and put me through a lot of pain. But if he come back tomorrow, it'd be open arms. But this isn't about me and my father. This is about you and your Father in heaven and how to get closer to him, but how to start turning this around. Can you imagine if those people in Portland, if the good parents showed up and said to their son or daughter, "What in God's name are you doing here? Get your butt home. I need to teach you a little better because obviously I didn't do my job." What you see with BLM and all this other BS is a lack of parenting, especially on the father's part. Our children are not told to honor their mother and father. Public schools teach that life has no meaning. Morals are relative. You, man, in Portland, are the measure of all things. And of course, the state is your daddy. Not your mom and dad, not your true biological mom and dad, but the state. So if you would, Mr. Anderson, this is from a teaching from Coach Dave Live every day, Monday through Friday, starting at 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern, about the family and about a very critical commandment that every church should be teaching. Every church.
Oh, where's the play button?
Go down. There you go.
Are your relationship to God, your duties and responsibilities in relationship to the Almighty. And then the second tablet has to do with your relationship with your fellow man. And this is where, well, let me read down real quick, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to try to make a point here that I think is really, really valuable. So he told us, he starts writing on that other tablet, his Cliff Notes.
I got it.
And he says, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. There's the 5th one. Then the 6th one, you shall not kill. Actually, it's murder, because the Bible tells us there is a time to kill, right? Ecclesiastes tells us that. There is a time to kill. So that should be interpreted as murder. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. This always gets me in trouble. I'm going to throw it out there where I can. See, it doesn't say not to lie. Lying, bearing false witness, has to be purposeful, intentional, and nefarious. You are bearing false witness in order to hurt your neighbor. We could get in an argument if a rapist came into my house and said, "Where's your wife?" He's got a gun, he's got a knife, he's going to come in and go rape my wife. I'd lie. I would lie there. Because I wouldn't be bearing false witness against my neighbor. I'd be protecting my neighbor. Anyway,
bearing false witness. I'm sorry, Coach. You just got to jump in there and throw it out there, really stir the pot.
This is Dale.
Bearing false witness is telling your neighbor, "Hey, I can wear this mask. It protects you, and it protects me." That's bearing false witness.
After we know the truth, right? Initially, I get it. We know the truth now, folks. We know the truth. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Now we know the 8th commandment on the stone probably says thou shalt not covet. Probably, doesn't it? But it says you shall not covet your neighbor's house, his wife, his servants, his maidservants, his ox, his ass, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. Shouldn't covet it. Boy, we could learn something if we taught that, couldn't we? Said the government teaches everybody that what I have is yours. You deserve it. The government teaches people to covet. Boy, and all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings, the noise of the trumpet. Did I skip one? No, I didn't. That's it. But here's where I want to go. Just as I believe that I have no theological basis for this, what I'm about to tell you, other than I say it. Okay? Just as the first 10 commandments, first 4 commandments are put in order. What's the first commandment, Mike? Scroll back up there. What's the first commandment? When they asked Jesus, what's the greatest commandment? He said, you have no other gods before me, and he goes on and tells you why. So the greatest commandment is no other gods before me. When they asked Jesus, which is the greatest, what did he say? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul. And so he encapsulated all the first 4 into one. And then he said the second tablet's just as important. And the second tablet is that you shall love your neighbor as yourself. If you love your neighbor as yourself, you won't covet from him, you won't lie about him, you won't steal from him. Yeah, are you getting the picture I'm trying to paint here? But I think it's really, really unique that sitting on top of the first of the second tablet, the first of the second tablet. I'm going to say this again. You have the first tablet and the top 4, and then you have the second tablet and the top 6. But I believe they're in order, and I believe they're in order for a purpose. And one of the things I see going on in Christendom and see going on in America and in education and in government is a full frontal attack, assault on the 4th commandment. I'm sorry, the 5th commandment. The 5th commandment. Mike, can you go back to Exodus for me real quick? I find it interesting that the 5th commandment says, slide on down, brother. I want you to see it. Remember, it's the number 1 on the 2nd commandment. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul. And then the 2nd commandment is love your neighbors yourself. And isn't it interesting that when they start out the second one, they say honor, not love, honor thy father and thy mother. You get me now? This is the first one of the second group. Honor thy father and thy mother. Why? That thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. And if there's been anything that I've seen over the last 20 years of my life that has caused me more concern than this, I don't know what it would be. Folks, our children are not taught to honor us.
Do your children honor their teacher or you? Do they honor the government or you? Who do they honor? And that's why we have the problems we have today. We're listening to Coach Dave Dobbenmeyer. This is B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. Last call. This is from a teaching that Coach Dave gave this week on the 5th commandment and the importance of the 5th commandment and why I'm recommending that all pastors, if we're going to make the church great again, if we're going to make America great again, we're going to have to reestablish the authority and the honor back to the family. And fathers, you're going to have to lead that charge. I'm going to continue with it, but just understand, Coach went over the first 4 commandments to set up where we are right now. Honor father and mother. What would that look like in today's America? If it's all of a sudden changed, what would that look like in today's America? Would the governors of states be able to dictate what families would be doing? Whether your family, I don't necessarily agree with public schools, but whether you can send your child to public school or not, that you're paying for, that the governor isn't paying for, through your hard-earned taxes, that you're working. The government needs to pay attention to the 5th commandment, for crying out loud. That's what we have to change. Back to Coach.
Not taught to honor us anymore. It's not taught in the schools. It's not taught in the churches. It's not totally undermined in the church. But when you go to church, your kids shouldn't go to Sunday school. Why should your kids go to Sunday school? The children should always see you, father, you, mother, as the primary educator. You shouldn't send them off to Sunday school. It's like when you get up in the morning and you put your kids on the yellow school bus to hell, you're sending them to somebody else to teach them what? Their values, what they believe, their indoctrination, their theology. What is it that you're teaching them? And so right from the very beginning, as soon as you remove the parents, the father and the mother, as the ultimate authority in the home, the rest of this stuff begins to break.
Bingo. And I love the hat Coach has on. Don't you? Don't you love that hat that he has on? I'm telling you.
Breakdown. That's the way that I see it. And I think if you look at what's going on in the streets of America, and you look at what's going on with all the tearing down of the statues and the rewriting of history, it is ultimately, folks, a violation of the 5th commandment. Honor thy father and thy mother. I got into an argument, a debate, whatever, a discussion, whatever you want to, with a member of my family, not my immediate family, but a member of our family over this very issue. And I could not believe how disrespectful this child, not my child, you still follow what I'm saying? If I couldn't believe how disrespectful some 30-something young girl treated me. Things I would have never, ever said to any adult in my life. I would have got my teeth knocked out if I had ever questioned one of my uncles to his face. If I had ever said to my Uncle Bob, "Oh, Uncle Bob, you're old-fashioned, you're just full of crap." If I had ever done that, my dad would have slapped me across the floor so fast it made your head spin. And I was thinking today, they came after Millie Weaver's children. Why? Because they're doing everything they can to undermine the idea that daddy and mommy rule the roost.
Millie Weaver is an activist in Ohio who went after the deep state and who was arrested, I'll say, on some pretty trumped up charges, burglary charges. And of course, they arrested her. The charges were agreed on by the judge a month ago, but they waited until Friday afternoon to arrest her and her husband. Of course, they took the children to Children's Services, and now they're going to have to report to Children's Services, by the way, have to do Children's Services bidding. These are nasty folks when it comes to the family. Anyway, Millie was an activist. She got arrested. That's who he's talking about by Millie, just for clarification.
I wonder how many of you, if you were to be honest, or if I gave you the opportunity to say so, how many of you watching right now are in a strained relationship with one of your children, and your children do not honor you. Anybody say amen out there on that one?
Amen.
Coach.
Honor, not love. You don't have to love them. You don't have to love them. But I can tell you this. There are many, some of the things, I'm talking about my own children now. Some of the things my own children have said to me, I just sit back in amazement that they would even say that. Now, they don't say it, folks, listen, they don't say it to be malicious. Sometimes they do. But out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Where did our children learn to be so disrespectful to mom and dad? On number one on the second tablet, honor your parents. And we don't. Somebody come in there. What do you think?
I think you're spot on, Coach. And of course, our kids make mistakes. I can only speak about my own. And I can't say that my kids don't honor me. They do.
Dale's a
And
pastor out of Louisiana. That's who's speaking now.
To watch them come back without me saying, hey, you need to repent. Watch them humbly come back to me and repent tells me a lot right there that, that's okay. We're going to make these mistakes. They said those things out of that rebellion. But I want to share something. I don't know if you saw that in the arrest. Her little boy came out on that porch. Yeah. Brother, let me tell you, he came out and said, get my BB gun. Where's my BB gun? That little boy wanted to defend his mom from the police.
Mm-hmm. Amen. So the point, Dale, the point I'm making, folks, the point I'm making, what do you think tearing down the statues is? The tearing down of the statues is nothing more than a clear violation of the values that your parents held. That's all this is. It's all it is. We got a statue up of George Washington because somebody somewhere thought his values were important enough that they put a statue up. And now we come along and we have a rebellious generation. Why are they rebellious? Because they've been fed this malarkey in the government schools that the parents are old-fashioned, the parents don't know what's going on, the parents aren't educated. Are you with me? Are you with me? And so many of our issues in America deal with the fact that we do not honor our father and mother. Now, hang on. Both of my grandparents, let me see how I'll say this. When my grandmother on my dad's side, when she died of a heart attack, dropped over dead of a heart attack, my dad's sister took in my grandpa. My grandpa died not in a nursing home. He died in the home of his daughter. My mother's mom, Dad Fisher, he lived until he couldn't, then he died. But Mom Fisher never went into a nursing home. She went into the home of one of her children. Now, I've often wondered as we look about where we are in America today, I don't know if guilt's the right word. My dad, when my father died, he couldn't have lived 30 seconds in a nursing home. He couldn't have done it. Thank God he just died. But my mom went into a nursing home. And she loved it at first, and then her Alzheimer's got worse. And Michelle's mother laid in a nursing home for 7 years with Alzheimer's. And I wonder sometimes, just getting God honest here, was that honoring? Would my mom have stuck me in an orphanage because I was pooping my pants and peeing and spilling my food all over me? Would my mom have put me in an orphanage?
I was just going to share that, Coach, what you just said, because it is part of what is our children seeing what we're doing with our parents. My kids have seen us take care of Michelle's mom and dad. Her mom died in the house, and her dad, who's pretty much wheelchair bound, we cook his food, we bring him food, we'll go down there and eat dinner. That's part of it. It's not about what we're saying. It's what are we doing?
You're honoring him, right? Honor. Listen, I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad this morning. Listen, please don't. If you take it that way, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm talking about me and my life. And look back at the last 7 years, Michelle's mother had Alzheimer's, and she just laid there. She just laid there. And I wonder, should she have just laid in our house? Would that have been more honoring for her to lay in our house rather than lay in a nursing home? Because when she went into a nursing home, can I tell you the truth? It made our life easier. To a degree. To a degree. Michelle didn't have to have bedpans and clean up and didn't have to do that. We hired somebody else to do it. And then all the materialism and all the stuff that we see going on is our generation. Are we really honoring our mother? Us?
Well, the way I've always taught that scripture. See, you said it's not love and it's not obeying. Obeying is not honor. Honor, the way I read it and did a little insight study in the Hebrew on that, it is to nurture and to take care of when they get older. That is what honoring is.
Mm-hmm. And we're not very good at that, are we? And as a result of it, what do we see? We see rebellious children. We see rebellious children. Can I tell you something else? One of the things that I say sometimes when I go to the abortion clinic, I do everything I can to chastise the death squirts. The death squirts are the ones who, the grown-ups, the adults, the older people, a lot of times who are there escorting the women in to kill their baby. And I'll yell at the death squirts and say, don't you have any sense of decency? Don't you understand that you are helping somebody kill somebody else's grandbaby, and the grandparents may not even know it? See, when you have a baby, when you give birth to a child, I taught our children all this. My DNA's in there, boys and girls. It ain't just you. It just ain't you. I'm in there. My dad's in there. My mom's in there. My grandma's in there. Michelle's in there. Her grandpa's in there. Her dad's in there. The honoring of thy father and mother is what? What does the Bible say? The crown of an old man, his grandchildren's the crown of the old man.
Hey, Coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, we moved from another state and moved in with my grandfather the last 30 years of his life. And I can tell a difference between my younger 3 children than my older one, because they were the ones that actually lived in the same house with my grandfather for his last days.
And by doing that, see, I remember when I was a young kid, we used to laugh because my grandma, who was staying with us, my mom Fisher, she'd get up, and when she'd get up, she'd start cutting some stinkers, some farts. And we always made a joke, oh, Grandma's getting her motor running. Grandma, you getting your motor running? And it was it was a sense of humility that I learned when Grandma got up and got her motor running, to realize that she really couldn't control that part of her anymore, and it was okay. A humility, an honor. Now think about the culture and the society, the throwaway society that we have today. Hey, Mike, go back to that commandment, man. Go back to that commandment. And just apply this. Not only apply this personally, but apply it generationally. Honor your father and your mother, not love, that your days may be long upon the earth, which the Lord thy God giveth thee. There's a generational connection to how we treat our parents.
Hey, Coach.
Yes.
Coach, I'll share this one with you. When Mary Jane's mom died at 98, and I'll say this just to brag on Mary Jane a little bit, 72. So she's old school. We tried moving her in here with us. It was about 3 months she was here, and that whole woman just didn't want to be here in this house. Took her back to her house again. She ended up having to go to the nursing home, and I can tell you this much. 5 years from the age of 93 to 98, Mary Jane went up there every day of the year. Every day. Oh, it was so rough. I mean, she was wore out for 5 years. She was up there every day with that woman to make sure she was being taken care of, because they don't get taken care of in there. Then she picked up, through just 1 year, maybe 12 birthday cakes she took up there to old people and put party hats on them all, blew them little things, and old Joe and Mabel, different men and women in there got birthday parties, and Mary Jane would give cake to every nurse, every patient, delivered up. They wanted her to take a job in there. And I'm like, no. But she even went to 2 or 3 funerals of old there. She got to know them, their whole past history, what they did when we were younger. She went to their funerals. I didn't even know it until she come home. I said, where you been today? Oh, I went to Virginia's funeral, and she stood up and spoke at their funeral to honor them old people.
Hang in there, Craig. This is B.J. Edwards along Mr. Anderson, your last call. We've been listening to Coach Dave Daubenmire from his show this week, CoachDaveLive.com. Highly recommend the program for you, but we're accentuating the importance of the father and the mother. Craig, are you on with us?
Yeah, BJ, how are you doing this morning?
I'm blessed, brother. I'm blessed. What's on your mind?
I was just gonna, follow up and comment what the topic is here, because I think the way that the scriptures are organized, first, the first 4 commandments really have to do with reverencing God, and then of course it goes to our fathers that we have here. But there's always the symbolism that God is our Father, and the thing is I think one of the things we really need to put in the back of our heads is to realize that, we need to reverencing our parents and honoring them is a step towards honoring God and acknowledging authority. And we don't acknowledge authority, even, whether it's good authority or bad authority. We don't acknowledge that, and we don't want to be under authority. And that goes to the issues of the fall, Lucifer, and that it's so critically important to. If we don't have some of those basic steps, you're not going to honor. If you're not going to honor your parents, you're not going to honor the Lord. And it's all tied in together. There's all pictures and images and symbolisms that really give us a bigger picture. And the family can be. We could have really even totally intact families, but if we're not honoring God, the Creator, then our families are going to fall apart anyways then, because we won't be living under the truth and realities that He's given us to interact with each other, to love each other, and to reverence Him and honor Him first in everything that we do.
Great.
So that's just a critical piece of information that you're pointing out right now.
That's good. I'd like to ad lib here a little bit. In honoring mother and father and mother, sometimes parents aren't always the best, and a child can continue to honor their mother and father by honoring their Father in heaven, and that brings honor to the family. When a child finds the Lord and honors Him. And that does, I believe, bring honor to mom and dad and mom.
Good point. And
I agree.
And one of the things I want to mention is the Bible talks a lot about fathers. It talks about mothers, but it also talks about brothers and sisters. And it talks about family. How can you know? I mean, it needs to have a spatial meaning, Craig, which I think you're kind of indicating. It needs to have a spatial meaning, especially a father. If you don't have a family, in other words, if we were just like the animals, you have the baby and you walk off. Okay, I mean, that's it. You may never see your mother or father again. But there's a reason that God had created the institution of the family. Obviously, a lot of reasons. But I think one of the keys is to really appreciate who He is, or who the great I Am is, if you will, and to see Him as a father, as versus just another person or a king, to see them as a relationship, a father and son relationship, and then you have brothers and sisters who have the same father. that all ties that in real closely. That's how I feel about that, Craig. Your comment?
Yeah, no, I think people who have a loving, caring father are going to be more willing to understand God the Father. It's just like a lot of people who are in homosexuality have always had big issues with their father, whether it's the woman or the man or whatever, they go to homosexuality because they don't have that strong figure. And we're supposed to teach them. That's what God did to the nation of Israel. We were supposed to bring up and teach them in the truths of God and his absolutes. And that's our role. And God holds us accountable. We don't get a free pass on that, and we will answer that. And our lives need to be testimonies to that, not that we're perfect, but that we always put it back in and God and his absolutes, his truth, his forgiveness, and his mercies, and his sacrifices. We're supposed to sacrifice. As fathers, we are supposed to sacrifice because we've been given the example of what God sacrificed through his son, Jesus Christ, for our salvation. It's
Great point.
It's tied up in a nice bow.
Craig, thank you very much for your input. Thanks for listening. God bless you. You have a great day. I want to get back to Coach, and I'm going to have a close for us. But Coach's show is interactive. You're seeing Jeff, and Jeff is from Ohio, and Jeff is a doer. He goes out and he shares, and he tries to have an effect on the world. And would that there be more Jeffs. But the point we're trying to make today with Coach's presentation is that we really need to honor our mother and father, and it's just art that is absolutely lost in America today for the most part. Honoring your mother and father is really an exception to the rules versus the rule, hence the problem. Just a little bit more with Coach Dave Dobmeyer, CoachDaveLive.com.
She took that seriously, you know what I mean? But she honored her mom clear to the day.
So let me ask this one, Jeff, and I'm not doing it to be personal. Do your children honor you?
No, Coach, they
Great
don't.
question.
Come on in, Silver.
I'm going to say, and yes, my children honor me. Unfortunately, we didn't have more children. Because our generation said, we got to get the timing right.
Yep.
All that kind of crap.
Yep.
And I have 9 grandchildren and 1 great-granddaughter. And hopefully more will be coming. But the one thing I wanted to say about this commandment from the Lord, and that has always blown me away, is that this commandment to us is the only commandment with a promise.
That's right, brother.
If you do this, if you honor your mother and your father, which I did, which my wife did, which my children are, your days will be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee.
There's a promise there.
It's a promise.
Joseph, I say to my wife 3 times a week. 3 times a week. Now, our family has no idea what the world would be like if you're not here, Michelle. They have no idea. And if they could live for 2 weeks without you being around, they would so honor you when you come back. Because of the little things that she does, the being the matriarch. She says, I don't want to be the matriarch. I said, honey, you are the matriarch. We had 3 of them spend the night with us last night. Why? Because our daughter knows she had to do something early this morning. So she said, can the grandkids come over? So Michelle right now is up there being a grandmother to 3 kids. And I would say this, you cannot buy what Michelle is imparting in the lives of those children.
Amen.
And somewhere along the line, we have made that a curse. We've made grandparents a curse. And I think that's part of the problem we see all across the spectrum of America. Somebody come in.
Yep.
Hey, I think you get the idea. The critical importance of honoring This is about authority. You can't have order in a society if you don't have authority and respected authority. Authority that you can honor. My goodness, look at America today and look at our quote unquote leaders in government. And I use that term lightly. A lot of that has to do with our lack of respect for the truth, which we should learn in the home. But if you don't respect your teacher, you ever have any problems like that, Mr. Anderson? It's tough to teach them when they don't want to respect you. They really don't. Of the problems in America, the problems we see today in America, and I believe Coach helped us make this point, we believe that America's in trouble because the family is broken, and it naturally follows that as goes the family, so goes the nation. The three-legged stool. You got to have the structure and the content and their place in society. That means that you have a vertical relationship. You have God, Jesus Christ, man, women, children. Woman, children. Okay? That's the vertical relationship that has to exist. There's where you run into the honor. There's where you run into the authority. And it goes up the line as well, Dad. You've got to honor Jesus Christ and God, or you're not going to be able to do that other part very well. So practice what you preach. If you want to honor, then you better honor. Working together. And the content, I mean, we could talk about that, but that's not what today's show about. And the place in society, that's part of what today's show is about. The family needs to be the cornerstone. The family, we've got the tail wagging the dog. The family needs to be dictating what Governor Mike DeWine is going to be doing because he's a public servant. He's not a king. We entrusted him to do the right thing and not work against us. As goes the family, so goes the nation. In terms of building that family and doing it right, it doesn't. You can have all this in place and things still go wrong. But increase your odds, okay? Increase your odds. Craig was talking about when they didn't have fathers, they become gay. Guess what else happens? They become gang members looking for that father. And they'll honor that gang boss, right? Enough to kill somebody else. If you want to fix what's wrong in America, you got to fix the family first. Nothing else will work without the family foundation being restored to the natural state. Whether it be the establishments of government, business, media, entertainment, education, or the church, if the family is not in the proper place and form, all these institutions will be rendered ineffective. You need that, Mr. Anderson? I don't know. Our challenge to you, first of all, if you see bigger issues in America, then tell us what it is and state your cause and case. There is no bigger issue. There is no bigger issue than the family. Abortion, oppressive taxation, pornography, child, drug, spousal abuse, feminist attack on masculinity, emphasis on atomization, diversity, me, public school indoctrination, open borders, socialism. All these, Sharia law, all these attack the family. Our adversary knows where to attack. We need to know where to defend. And what to use as our best weapon, by the way, which is that. If you cannot prove a bigger issue, then we challenge you to join our cause and lend your skills and available resources to our efforts. We could use help with the show. You already know the consequences if we're not successful.
Go to our website, sign the pledge.
Yeah. If not now, when?
That one.
If not you, who? Go to www.naturalfamilystrong.com. Take a look at the areas that are there. And go to our pledge and sign it. It would really help. Hey, thanks for listening in this morning. Coach, thanks for your input. And God bless all of you. Have a great weekend. B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. This has been your last call.
I got the closing.
Okay.
Faith, discussion, and so much more. Last Call with BJ Edwards.